Want to get that sweet riff in there, baby?
Yeah.
As we all predicted, Notre Dame 35, Clemson 14.
Yeah.
I came out here. I said, look, there's no way Notre Dame could win this way. This game, there's no chance. I don't see a way. No way, no how. This was never close.
No.
This game was never close. It was never close. It never felt like it was in doubt. I was convinced that there was no chance Notre Dame could run the football against Clemson the way they've been trying to, the way they did run the football against Syracuse. Totally convinced myself. This was not a reverse jinx. This was Ty was wrong. And I was really wrong because Notre Dame, as virtually nobody predicted, ran the ball exactly the same way. They were really good at running the football against what we thought was a solid Clemson front, a very good top 5 caliber defense with a line that's been questionable at best for most of the season, though improving. Just did not see that aspect of this game coming to fruition because on a windy night, if you can't run the ball and if you're turning it over to Drew Pine to win the game, that did not feel like a good formula to me.
No.
I could not have been more wrong, though. I could not have been more wrong, Dan, because what happened in this game is that Notre Dame's offensive line was physically dominant against Clemson. Physically dominant. There are not many instances that I can recall. It's happened, but not a whole lot of instances that I can recall where Clemson's defensive front got pushed around like this by any opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Be it in a playoff, a conference game, non-conference game, what have you. It just doesn't really happen. 263 on the ground for Notre Dame. They're led by Logan Diggs and Audric Estime, your boy.
Oh, my God.
Audric Estime.
Runs hard. I like him.
He does run hard. It was, I thought, just a great performance all around for the Irish. I also want to give credit to Tommy Rees. You know, we've been dunking on him a bit here throughout the course of this season for some of the play calling, but we got to give him props, especially in a game like this, which I thought was called brilliantly.
For him to dial up the pick 6 and blocked punt return for a touchdown, that counted for 30% of Notre Dame's points. I thought was great. Did not see that shrewd move coming.
But it was not set up in a way that it relied too much on Drew Pine.
No.
Which is what they had to do, what you have to do.
Right.
If you want to win some of these big games on the schedule moving forward, be it against Clemson, be it against USC, in a couple weeks. I thought he did a really good job. Enough nuance in the run game, enough subtlety in the run game to run many versions of the same play over and over again, but have, the same amount of success the full way through, not diminishing returns once the defense catches on to it. So he did a really good job dialing that up. Defensively, I thought Notre Dame was really good. The corners played especially well. Benjamin Morrison with 2 picks, had the pick 6, definitely made a name for himself in this one. The fact that they did not have to overcommit one way or the other is really what made them so effective on defense. Not to say Clemson has had a firepower-based offense. I mean, it's not been pyrotechnic by any stretch of the imagination, but Notre Dame was really good, really balanced in their defensive approach here as well. And on top of some of the plays which you mentioned, which obviously helped, the production they got on offense just wore Clemson down over the course of 60 minutes. And Notre Dame with a monster win. Marcus Freeman with finally a signature win this season after a rocky start at best. And now they're, I'm assuming, going to be ranked in the top 25. They've got a lot to play for here. 9-win season potentially in the cards for the Irish.
Yeah. I guess Notre Dame did a better job of hiring their interns to coordinator positions than Clemson did. Yeah, man. You know what it feels like? The job Tommy Rees has done with Drew Pine, because he has beaten North Carolina. He has beaten Clemson. He beat BYU, I want to say, in Vegas. I'm not sure what the other bigger. I mean, look, they've had some disappointing performances at the same time too with Drew Pine.
Sure.
But there is that element, and I know I'm going to speak your language here, where like the thrusters are out on the Apollo mission, the fuse is out on the Apollo mission. Like, we got to get back, right? We got to somehow figure this out, and we don't have much in this spaceship. We got to somehow get back and get our astronauts back safely. And The job I think that Notre Dame did really well. You mentioned the blocking, you mentioned the offensive line. And I mentioned to you when I was rewatching this morning, and I went back and watched a bunch of specific plays, the tight ends and receivers who know they're not getting the ball in the passing game, that are just sort of running sprints. They're doing high intensity interval training out there on the wide portions of the field. Block their asses off. Not just the offensive line, but in the way that they used... Again, is it Jalen Davis? Who's the receiver? I think is 83. A bigger receiver as sort of an H-back. He was used in the blocking scheme really, really well. Number 83, the number 2 tight end behind Mayer. I thought Michael Mayer's actually improved significantly as a blocker. He gets down and dirty really impressively, and Clemson was stacking the box, and Notre Dame was still going right at him. Whether 12, 13 personnel, they were going jumbo packages. Yeah,
and I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the preview, but Audric Estime, his numbers with 7 in the box have been really good. He's a load to bring down, and if your offensive line can get a push, you can start to lean on a guy like that a little bit more heavily, and it worked in this game. Jaden Thomas, by the way, the guy you're referencing.
Jaden Thomas, excuse me. Yeah.
Big number 83. I just thought a really good approach to this game. Notre Dame finally got one where not only did they get the production on the ground, but they also got some big plays elsewhere, which I think was important in a big game like this to give them a little bit of breathing room. Whether it's the block punt, they have 6 block punts on the year, they have 6 block punts on the year, by the way, which is pretty good. The one early went for a touchdown. You get a pick 6 as well. This is still an offense that is learning to work with Drew Pine, as he said, right? Let's fit the square peg in the round hole and get home. But I just thought across the board, one of the better games from the Notre Dame standpoint that I've seen in a while. On the Clemson side...
Yeah, let's talk Clemson.
Clemson finally ran up against the defense that could match up with them in coverage. And I think a lot of this will fall on DJU because he got pulled for a series. Then Klubnik came in and he immediately threw a pick. And then DJU was back in. To be clear, DJU was not super effective in this game, but pretty much all of the video that I saw, and I will lean on the expertise of people who are far smarter and brighter when it comes to breaking down film and X's and O's and Jimmy's and Joe's and all that.
And have access to the good video and not just
have
the
access
TV
to the good,
angle.
all 22 stuff, right? But just from, my layman's vision here, not even a term, nobody was open. Nobody was open. There was no separation 85% of the time for DJU trying to throw downfield. And that speaks to what Notre Dame did on defense, but it also speaks to what I think has been a recurring problem for Clemson, which is these guys just can't get separation. And that makes it hard to develop any kind of real passing game.
But also when you miss swing passes and screens and when there are guys who are somewhat open and you're sailing it over the heads of those guys, that can be put on the quarterback. And
definitely
for as high a ceiling as DJU can have, both with his arm and with his legs and his ability to extend plays and withstand hits because of his size, there is a notion when you watch this Clemson offense, which does its own defense no favors. It's much easier to run on the Clemson defense when they're on the field as much as they were because of Clemson's offense leaving the field as much as they did. There is... I think a relatively easy notion at this point to say DJU can be very good. I'm not sure he is the medium-term answer for this Clemson passing game. In fact, I'm pretty sure he isn't. And there is something about, there's the loyalty, which is admirable from Dabo to DJU and to the interns and everybody ascending through his program that become coordinators. But you're talking about an extremely green operation. Right? There is something extremely green about watching Clemson trying to succeed on offense beyond Will Shipley, who I think is a full-on dude. I think he's really, really good. And they've developed the tight ends pretty well. But I don't know, man. It's hard to think about what they're doing all fall camp and then putting this product on the field offensively. It's very strange.
I'm sure when DJU went back to his locker post-game, there was just a little post-it there from Marcus Freeman like, hey, man, here's my email. It's my email.
Oh my God. You're all in. What is it? Hashtag delirious.
I'm here for Devin Leary.
MJ Morris, freshman ascending, and Devin Leary injured. Okay.
I hope he throws for 15 touchdowns, and then Devin Leary is looking for another place to play next year.
All right.
That's my dream. Delirious.
New Jersey's own.
Yeah. That's right.